Abraham's test. Genesis chapter 22. Isaac grew in age and stature. His parents loved him very much. When Abraham saw him, he remembered God's promise that through my seed the whole world would be blessed. Sacrifice for one day. God spoke to Abraham again, "Take your beloved son Isaac with you and go to Mount Moriah and kill him." Abraham could not understand why God was asking me to do such a thing. He loved Isaac with all his heart and was willing to give his life to save him. But he had learned that the best thing was to always obey God. He will fulfill his promise about Isaac. Abraham did not bother to tell Sarah what he was going to do. He did not mention this to anyone. The next morning, Abraham woke up Isaac early in the morning. He took his 2 nines with him. He loaded the necessary goods on the donkey and left for the country of Moriah. On the 3rd day of the journey, Abraham saw the mountain that God had chosen. He said to the servant, "Stay by the donkey." Then he and Isahaak began to climb the mountain path slowly. Isaac would. The bundle was held up and in one of Abraham's hands. There was a sharp stone and some fire in the kangari in the other hand. Isaac asked his father, "O father, here we are. There is fire and wood, but where is the stream for sacrifice?" And Abraham answered with a sad heart but with great courage, "Go, son of God. Moriah will do." Arriving at the top of the mountain, Abraham again selected and built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Finally, Isaac realized the terrible truth. Abraham gently lifted his son and offered the altar. Laying him on the cow, his hands and feet, Abraham picked up a bright, sharp knife to cut his son's throat. At that moment, God called out and said, "O Abraham, stop your hand and do some damage to the boy." Not reached. I know that you love me and do not hold anything back from me. Abraham lowered his hand. For a moment, he was convinced that whatever was happening was the truth and the truth. Isaac was sold. His heart began to leap with joy and gratitude. He untied Isaac with trembling hands, and when he looked up, he saw a ram with its horn stuck in the bush. It happened. Abraham took the ram and brought it to God on the altar and burned it as a burnt offering. God had provided a sacrifice in place of Isaac. He did not want a human sacrifice like the people of Canaan at that time offered to their gods and goddesses. Choice of wife for Isaac. Genesis chapter 24. When Isaac was young, his aged mother Sarah died. Now Isahaak became very sad. Abraham was also very old, but he was comforted that Isaac was the heir of God's promises and he would be the ancestor of a great nation. One day he called his servant who was in charge of all things. Abraham said to him, "Now is the time to find a wife for my son. I do not want him to marry a Canaanite girl here. So promise me. You will go to my family in my country. And for my son from among my relatives. He will bring the bride." The servant replied, "And the country is far away. Maybe that girl doesn't want to come with me. Why not Isahaak should be sent to Mesopotamia?" Abraham said, "God has brought me here and he has promised to give this land to my descendants. Isaac must stay here, whichever girl he chooses to be his wife, and if he chooses. If he refuses to come with you, then you will be released from your promise and oath." That servant took 10 camels with goods and gifts and set off on a long journey to Mesopotamia. Finally, one day later, he reached that city where Abraham's family lived. He sat the camels by the well outside the city. Then he prayed like this, "O God of my master Abraham, so help me to choose a suitable wife for Isaac. In a little while, the women of that city will come to draw water from this well. It may be that the girl to whom I say, 'Give me water,' and she says, 'Drink and I will also water your camels,' then she is the one whom you appointed for Isaac. Is